I'll never forget that day I opened my front door and saw the kid standing there, speechless, peering up at me with the widest eyes I'd ever seen. I remember his eyes were the only thing I saw, not the color of his frazzled hair or his sickly white skin. I couldn't even put together how old he was until our eyes broke contact. All I knew was that he was young, too young for what he was going through, and that he needed as much help as he could get. All of this I concluded just by his eyes, the deep windows to his soul, hollow with concern and stale from torment. It wasn't difficult to assess what exactly the kid was running from. With parts of the world in turmoil and soldiers dropping like flies, well, there really is only one thing you can run from. It was obvious that the government took a hold of his duties as a young man of this country and was planning to thoughtlessly turn him into one of those people-killing machines. People say we're the land of the free, but if you ask me, we're taken for granted. Why are we born with individual rights yet must die as one of the thousands of irrelevant bodies on the battleground? It's like they talk you up into being this outstanding singular entity, walking the streets of the greatest country in the world, only to demote you, throw you to the slaughterhouse, and replace you with newly harvested victims when you're gone. One thing's for certain, I can relate. I might just seem like an old guy way up here in the middle of nowhere, silent and keeping to myself. There was a point in my life when that wasn't true. Young and fragile, I was once in his position. Brutally thrown into army training and quickly deployed off to Europe, where I fought in this world's first all-out disastrous war. It was everything you'd imagine hell to be like. Knowing that at any second your entire life could be over in an instant. Well, that's something no one on God's green earth should be forced to endure. The mere thought of all those nights in the foxhole, all the people I killed, all the people I could have saved, would drive me into an absolute state of hysteria. I realized after the war that I wanted nothing more than to be with the love of my life. My wife Alice and I secluded ourselves all the way out here in Minnesota, took one look at the rainy river, and called it our home. We started our own business called the Tip Top Lodge, which, at least nowadays, shouldn't be described as tip-top. Visitors were few and far between, but we always made the best of what we had. After she passed on about 10 years ago, it occurred to me that words meant more than what we make them out to be. I thought of all the things I said to her, and all the things I didn't. I figured if I were to open my mouth, my words better be pretty damn important. Maybe that's why people think I'm so quiet. Sometimes silence is the best option. For the O'Brien kid, well, I think that's what he needed most. Silence. He seemed so caught up in all the noise of his unknown future and how people would think of him. He didn't have the tranquility needed to figure out what he really wanted. The continuous drone of pressure from the people around him only weighed him down. So, naturally, I took him in. It was nice having company, if only for a few days. Aside from needing the work done, I showed him how to do small jobs here and there around the lodge to get his mind off things, although I knew that was virtually impossible. I tried my best to give him the calm sanctuary he so desperately needed, a solace for the disheartened. After being trapped in the bloody terrain of the war front, I realized how important places like these were. That's why I decided to build a lodge, to offer this serenity to anyone whose lives were just one big, loud noise. He spent time staring at the great vastness of the river and the world beyond. I knew what that world looked like to him. Freedom, safety, yet so far from home. He was eager to get to Canada, yet something always held him back. What exactly it was, I couldn't be sure, but I knew it was enough. Towards the end of his stay, I recognized his decision and respected him for it. I took him out on the river on the last day of his stay. I parked the boat a small distance from Canada and fished, silently giving him the out, the option to jump, to run away, to leave behind all of his friends, his family, his belongings, his accomplishments and his downfalls, but most importantly, his fear. He contemplated it a long while, turning over every option, every opportunity, every consequence. Once he broke down into convulsive sobs, I knew my job was finished. I knew he made his decision. I patiently and passively helped the boy to my utmost power. I was overwhelmed with joy that I was able to comfort and guide him. If I'm being honest, though, it wasn't me who helped him. It was the river. The noiseless, breathless, undisturbed waters that brought him back to reality. With that, I made a small comment about how the fish just weren't biting, and steered the boat back to the home of the brave.